Okay, class, now that we've focused on this idea of the different types of sentences as in declarative, interrogative, imperative, and exclamatory, now we're going to get a little deeper into the sentences and the different parts of the sentence. So we're going to look today at dependent and independent clauses. This is the only slide I'm going to actually show you today, so make sure that you're very familiar with this and having this down. There will be a worksheet to go with this, and I'm going to actually show you the instructions on in just a moment. So the first thing we're going to look at is this idea of an independent clause. A clause is a complete sentence, so it has a subject, it has a verb, but an independent one is one that can stand on its own as a sentence. So it doesn't require any more information. It's perfect just the way it is. It has subject, it has verb. So when we're looking here at this sentence example, we walked to the park. We is our subject, walked is our verb. So it has a subject, it has a verb, and it makes sense. It is a complete sentence on its own. It doesn't have the dependence aspect that we're going to look at down here. But so it's the main clause. So it's the main idea of what the sentence is about. Okay, the next one is this idea of dependent clauses. So even though, because clauses always have a subject and a verb. Okay, so even though this has a subject and a verb, it cannot stand on its own to make and it makes sense. So the idea is I have two of them here. I have one specifically that I want you to look at. But this idea of what makes it dependent is that it starts with a subordinating conjunction. Subordinating conjunctions are this idea that make it to depend on more information. So if you say that something is after, as something happens after that happens, or something happens before that happens, these, yes, these are adverbs, but the way they are used, they're actually subordinating conjunctions. So they begin the phrase, or they begin the clause that requires more information in order to make sense on its own. So I listed a couple here, but this is not a complete list. There's actually a list of like 80 or something like that. You can look up the list and have it. You don't need to memorize it, but just being aware of it is important. So looking at the sentence, before we go to the store, we must stop by the park. So if we look here, we're looking for subjects and verbs first. So if we underline the we and the go and the we and the stop, those are must stop would be the full one here. Those would be our subjects and verbs. Now this one I would label with an I. Okay, just like I would label this one up here with an I because they're independent. They don't require more information. We must stop by the park. You don't need any more information to go with this, okay? But it has a subject, it has a verb, it's a clause. Now this other one here, before we go to the store. Now if you look here, it starts with a subordinating conjunction. It starts with before. Now even if you take off before, it says we go to the store. That works, but because it has the word before, you're required to have more information. So if we just have the sentence, before we go to the store, period, it's a fragment. It doesn't make sense. It requires more information, so it cannot stand on its own, like it says here. It cannot stand on its own. So before we go to the store needs more information. So I would label this as a dependent clause or a D, okay? Now looking at this is important here, looking at the fact that they have subjects and verbs, looking at the fact that one requires more information, one does not. Okay, so keeping that in mind. Now I've done something a little different with your homework today. I have actually posted the homework worksheet on Edmodo. You do not need to print out the worksheet. You are fine just to write the answers on a separate piece of paper. But I have made a separate folder now on Edmodo. So within the class folders, there's another folder inside the main one for the class that says grammar. And anytime we have grammar worksheets now or exercises, I will throw the worksheets in there so that you have it even though I've already shared it. So here, what the what the instructions are asking you to do, it's giving you a little bit of review. It's giving you the idea of which is which here, and then it's asking you to identify the underlying group by writing above it as independent or subordinate. So on your paper, I want you to put exercise 1, and then I just want you to do numbers 1 through 20, and I want you to write if it's dependent, independent, independent or subordinate. So subordinate clause is the same thing as dependent clause. So that's for the first page. And then scroll down, and for the second page, I actually want you to write sentences like it says here. So making sure that you are adding in the proper information is important. And again, looking here that subordinate and dependent are the same thing. Okay, so this would be exercise 2, and then numbering it 1 through 10. Okay, so the more practice you get with writing these sentences, the more practice you get with seeing the sentences. The video that we do on Wednesday will make so much more sense because that is the more complex of the aspects. So that is your homework. Not only do you have to finish the novel, but you need to do this video and this worksheet, and I will see you guys on Wednesday. Have a great day.